All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin. What a game. Honestly, that was sensational. That's the word for me today. I've been just continuously saying sensational. Obviously, we absolutely destroyed Palace, and that too without Romelu Lukaku and with few injuries as well. If you guys seen the review, the guys who are here today, who were part of the preview yesterday, I mean, Taron was there. We were a little bit not worried that we won't win. I think we all predicted we'd win, but we were a bit worried as to where's the fitness level at. We played 120 minutes. Who's going to score the goals for us? Oh my days! We looked like we were going to score regularly. Every time we attacked, we looked like we were going to score. And utter fantastic performance by us, and we're gonna unpack everything. But first of all, to my panelists, Taron, Ryan, RJ, so good to see you guys here. First of all, Taron, my boy, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm excellent. Obviously, after watching that game, if you don't know, in the UK now, 3 p.m. kickoffs are not on the TV, so you have to kind of fish through the internet for a stream. But yeah, I watched the game. It was decent. I got there in the end, and yeah, I found a stream. But in terms of the game, the intensity, the possession, the attack, the defense, everything was perfect today. Maybe a few more goals if that's to be extra hopeful. And war performance. So first game of the season, what more can you ask for? Man United came out, set out a really high marker early on in the day, and we've set a really high mark as well. Without our signing, without, like you said, without N'Golo Kante, without Thiago Silva, without a few other big players. But honestly, this season looks like it could be special. I've been saying it for a while. Everything looks like it's clicking into place now. Everything looks like it's perfect. We have a great manager, a great team building right now. So, yeah, what more can you ask for in terms of a first day?
100, man. You're right, Taron. I watched the Man United game as well, and I was like, we better keep up with the pace here because Man United, they look good. I'm a big, not a big Leeds fan at all. I just watched Leeds a lot after Chelsea, and I was hoping for a really good game from Leeds, but the way they got dismantled by Man United, wow. We'll talk a little bit about that as well, of course. Ryan, my man, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. First game of the season, so it's lovely to see the boys back and to talk to RJ and Taron after months since the Champions League final prep. I'm happy to be here, man.
Brilliant. RJ, my boy, it's 2 a.m. I just looked at the 2:11 a.m. How's things, man?
What can I say? You boys have covered it well. First game of the season, United laid down the mark, and I also watched it very closely. And I thought what was more impressive about that is that this was a statement performance. Because if we struggled to get over the line here, people would have had question marks saying United dispatched Leeds quite easily, but we struggled against Palace. But there was something special about that performance, considering who was unavailable, who's yet to be integrated, and the fact that we played an intense game in the Super Cup final. So, yeah, it's nothing but positives for me. So over the moon to be talking Chelsea and doing these match reviews again. Welcome the season.
100. I want to do a quick shout out. We got over 50 people after 3 minutes. Please smash the like button, guys. Get the likes up to 50. I can't stress enough how important the likes are to the growth of this channel as well. So if you guys enjoy being here on a regular basis, and I can see all you guys, on a regular basis here, the ones that are here right now, smash the like button. Let's get the likes up to well over 50. And if you're here for the first time, subscribe. We are now off to 8,000 subscribers. So all your support is going to be very appreciated. And check out my panelists, their socials in the description right now. Literally all the links set up. All you got to do is just go and click and follow. Before we get into the review, I want to give a shout out to the live chat, like I always want to do. You guys have been honestly the main component to this channel. So Ralph, thank you so much for being here. So Dustin, my man, always here. Brent, love to see you, my man. Patik is here. Yasser is here. John, declared, man. It is late declared, obviously, for us in Australia. Emmanuel, Flyers, Ashkeef, who else we got? We've got MM, we've got Bonolo, we've got Nithuyan, Fedric, we've got Andrew, Big Muller, Abudun, we've got a lot of people, RCBN, Alex, tons and tons of people right here, which is fantastic. Let's get straight into this conversation. Obviously, best way to start this, like we always do, is the starting lineup. We're not going to dwell too much on it, but it's good to have a quick snapshot of it. I'll go to you, Taron, first up. When you looked at that lineup, I mean, what was going through your mind? I looked at it and I thought this was more or less what we kind of decided yesterday anyway. So not huge surprise. We kind of said Chalobah maybe. We had Aspie in the background as well. Mm-hmm. Some did say Aspie in the wingback, but we didn't put Aspie in the wingback. I think we had, what did we have? Callum. We had Callum. So that was probably the only surprise. But besides that, it was a pretty straightforward lineup for me. I mean, what was your thoughts when you looked at it?
Yeah, same kind of thoughts. Very, very similar to what we predicted. The front three, we predicted that Havertz would be a little bit, I'd say, tired after the Super Cup game. Predicted that the back three pretty much the same. I believe it was between Christensen and Zuma. We weren't really decided, so we kind of put Christensen below Zuma in the substitute kind of thing. But as Piliqueta wing back, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting Hudson-Odoi to play as it, Palace probably would have not been as attacking as we would have expected. So Hudson-Odoi is great against kind of low block teams. But as we started, proved everyone wrong again at wing backs. The older he gets, he's kind of like fine wine. The older he gets, the better he gets. So it's great to watch. And the pivot, we predicted it after the Kante kind of injury. We'll get into the pivot. They were absolutely amazing today, kind of like Iniesta and Xavi.
Brilliant.
But it was great. I mean, I was expecting Chilwell to come in. That was my personal kind of outline, kind of opinion, because Chilwell was a guy who has great fitness levels. I thought we could have popped back in straight away, similar to Luke Shaw for Man United. But yeah, Alonso kept his place, and surprise, surprise, absolute blinding performance. So yeah,
for me, maybe borderline man of the match as well. Alonso, if we're not giving it to Chalobah, a lot of people are talking about Chalobah man of the match, but Alonso was sensational. But yeah, carry on, bro.
Yeah, I'd say between Alonso, Mount, and Chalobah, all very good. But the bench warmers, we're not bench warmers. The guys who were on the bench, they got some minutes. Reece James got some minutes. He was I think he looked quite explosive when he came on. It was nice to see. Emerson came on
in his pocket.
Yeah, he's been in his pocket for many years now. We know that after that game in Stamford Bridge. So that was nice to see. But yeah, the lineup was good. Mendy, could have been a debate. Could Kepa get start after his kind of Super Cup heroics? And yeah, he kept his place. So it was a great lineup.
100, man. Look, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen the preview, which was yesterday, Taron was part of it and Ishan was part of it as well. We pretty much predicted this lineup as well. So not too much to dwell about, as Taron said. It's more or less that was what was expected. Let's get straight into the game right now. RJ, I'll go to you first up. Let's talk about the first half, and then I'll go to Ryan for the second half. RJ, for me, that was some impressive first half, man. The way we controlled them with possession, we were just all over them. Anytime we lost the ball in their half, we won it back so quick. So the counter-pressing was on the ball. The hustle from every player. And I tweeted out midway through in that first half that could it be the fact that the boys are just buzzing that a player like Lukaku is just about to come into the team as well. That's a big uplift straight after winning the Super Cup, the announcement of Lukaku. Because I was literally concerned a little bit that how some of these boys are going to come up after literally 2 days of break of 120 minutes of football. And some of the players not still, up to the level of fitness yet in terms of they've come recently. But I was so impressed that first half. Our passing was crisp. As Taron said, midfield, Kovacic, Jorginho were superb. Alonso on the left wing. You mentioned in your stream earlier today, the wing backs were fantastic. Aspilicueta, Alonso, Mount was linking up so nicely with Aspilicueta. What'd you make out of that first half, my man?
Yeah, first up, totally agree. I think for me, the first few minutes were a little bit trying to find our rhythm and get into the groove of things. But once the feet got warm, so to speak, it just felt like the rhythm was well and truly in our favor. And as you mentioned, it was about that intensity. What impressed me the most, so it's the 3 C's, isn't it? It's that commitment, that confidence, and that concentration. And I really liked the fact that as I said earlier, around using that width, because our anticipation of the match was that Crystal Palace were going to set up very compact and we're going to try to really frustrate and get in the noses of Jorginho, Kovacic, and really crowd out our front three. So it was imperative for whoever started in that wing back to really work with their respective front three wingers to really stretch that, compact Palace lineup.
Yeah.
And they were superb. Alonso, particularly in that first half. But what I liked is subtly Jorginho. To me, I haven't got enough raps for him in his continued evolution since the start of the season. Just the little things, because obviously there's a lot of link up between Mount and Azpilicueta and Ryan, and obviously Alonso was very good with Werner on that side as well. But I just thought every time I saw Azpi and Mount there's always Jorginho in and around providing an outlet. It was always there doing those little linkages that nobody really notices, but it's so fundamental in freeing up the space. Yeah. And I just thought that first half was so strong from us, and the deserved lead came by a free kick, which, it's always nice to know that we can rely on free kick specialists. Yeah. I tweeted out something as soon as we got that free kick. I just knew it was going to go into the net. I'm a left footer. Alonso's a left footer. He's a superb technician, and I just knew it was going to happen. And then the Pulisic goal was just as a result of the good overlapping runs and the cutback that was well deserved. I suppose for me, if there was a bit of a constructive criticism in that half in particular, was Werner's first touch at times was a little bit heavy, despite his very smart runs. He did have a positive contribution overall, but I just would have wanted him for his own confidence to get on the score sheet. But I felt the players were extra motivated for this game for a couple of reasons. Firstly, people like Werner know that Romelu's in the frame now, and he wants to make sure that, hey, Tuchel, I'm still here, don't forget about me. But also the likes of Alonso know that Chilwell is number one, so he's doing everything he can to keep himself in the purview of Tuchel. And again, N'Golo Kante, if he's fit 9 times out of 10, he gets picked. So Kovacic would be like, this is my opportunity to shine now. So you've got all these not the B team, but essentially these non-regulars that are wanting to make their position known that they're still up for grabs. So, I'm glad that they used the competition to really lay down a marker for Tuchel.
100%, man. 100%. Absolutely well said. Alex, thank you so much for this super chat, my man. Wish Tammy came in instead of Emerson. After all, he's our boy, deserved a decent send-off. I mean, perhaps, but I guess the other way to look at it is, you just don't want to risk anything because Tammy's literally on his way out. I think the Roma deal will be happening very, very soon, if not tomorrow or day after. You're right. Maybe he could have got that send off right at the end instead of Emerson, but I guess it is what it is at the moment with Thomas Tuchel and Tammy Abraham. I guess deep down it can be said that I don't think Thomas Tuchel truly fancies Tammy Abraham, but perhaps it would have been a nice send off. But I think he got a decent sort of reception at Belfast when we played our Super Cup there. He came on, and no, it wasn't Belfast. No, it was the last time. Which one was the last home game, boys? Was it the Spurs game or the Arsenal
Leicester,
game?
Wasn't it? Oh no, sorry. No. Yeah, Spurs game. Spurs.
I think he was kind of saying bye to everyone in that particular match. I know it was pre-season, but look, it is what it is. Ryan, I know we're going to do a bit of a tactical show a bit later on this particular review, but for the time being, the second half, I thought we became even better to a certain degree. Obviously, later on, once we had the 3-0 lead, we sort of chilled down a little bit. But did we score both the second and the third goal in the second half, I believe? Or were we 2-0 up at first half? Were we 2-0 up at first half?
There was 2-0 in the first half, and we scored third.
The third one, Okay, Pulisic scored that second goal. I just remembered, So, Ryan, going back to you, the second half, once again, we came out off the blocks in total command. Jorginho and Kovacic, once again, did not lose any sort of, hold. They still kept it tight. We got that third goal. We will do that goal analysis as well very, very soon. What do you make of that second half? We kept a clean sheet as well, which is fantastic.
No, well, I think anytime you're analyzing Tuchel's Chelsea, you need to think about the personnel that we're using also, because that really impacts the dynamics of the game. Today we saw Aspi there. We can't count on Aspi to be that wide right winger, so we'd see more of our front three not dropping between the lines as much as we would see if Hudson-Odoi was there. We would see Ziyech dropping in between the lines more. So today we really had to count on our ball playing CDMs and CBs, and they did a fantastic job. Those runs in behind from Werner. It's disappointing that we are seeing repeated for nearly 8 months, 9, 10 months, even a year. Bad first touch, bad decision making in the final third. But his runs continue to be opening space for others, which is very important for us. I think today we can see a clear improvement in how our ball playing CBs play. They really improved. Before we would say, oh, we have a ball playing CB, and they would find a diagonal pass. But, it is much more than that, being a ball playing centre back. And today we saw those passes in between the lines, in behind from Alonso, Rudiger, Jorginho, Kovacic. It was very, very good. I have a lot more to say when I do my tactical analysis, but I also want to mention that when just considering 120 minutes was played on Wednesday and today's Saturday morning, we have to be proud of this team. They came out very, very intense. They came out and they got the job done. And after, it's early in the season, you don't want to watch competition that much. But after that Man U performance, you want our boys to come out there and, stake our claim too. We are here to compete, and we are here. We are Chelsea, as Eden Hazard would say. So, so I'm very happy with this performance. As I DM'd you, Miz, I said there's some things I'm not very happy with, but I mean, I'm happy all around of this performance. But I'll get into the things I'm, have an eye out for what we can improve later on in my tactical analysis.
100%. The baby Pep is here, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to rock your world. Live chat. Smash the like button if you're enjoying this so far. We'll do the tactical analysis where, Ryan will go through some of the things that he's noticed, and we'll do that. For player analysis as well that we want to do. But yeah, Ryan, you're absolutely right. I mean, kudos to the Chelsea team, for playing such a tough game against Villarreal not that many days ago, literally 2 days ago, and to come out in this particular game looking so fine, and getting that 3 points. And you're right, it was very important off the back of Man United performing the way they did. We need to put a marker down that we're not here to just go for the top four. We're here to win, challenge for the title or even win it. But now let's look at the goal analysis. Then we're going to talk about the player analysis, and then obviously we'll look into the tactical side of things from Ryan. So we've got a lot of things to go through. Let's do this. Taron, I'll go to you, my man, first up. The first goal, obviously, it was a free kick, so not much to say from there. But just quickly from your end, obviously, RJ said that as soon as Alonso plays the ball down, it kind of looked like, oh, man, this is going in. I kind of felt like that as well for some reason. I don't know why. I was like, oh, man, I think he's going to ping this in. I mean, did you have similar sort of vibes as well when he put the ball down and he's about to take the free kick? And obviously, when it went in, how'd you feel?
I wouldn't say I was kind of set on stone because Alonso hasn't scored a free kick in, I don't think, a few years for us. But that is his territory. He does like to whip it into the top right corner on his left foot. And we know he has it in his locker. Like, he always has these special moments. It wasn't against Spurs this time, but, it was a London derby and he does have it in his locker. But, before the kind of actual free kick, Mason Mount's work off the ball was absolutely superb. I believe he got into a pass from Azpilicueta. He was constantly picking up.
By the way, Mason Mount won balls like that all throughout the game. Like, he was consistently drawing fouls, which was in dangerous areas, which was very, very good for us, I suppose.
Yeah, he was absolutely superb. And people are talking about some other key performers, but Mason Mount was, low key one of the best players on the pitch today. But he won the foul constantly, not in positions like low on the pitch. He kept winning fouls high up the pitch in great positions where we could have great free kicks. There was a chance early where he won a free kick on the opposite side of the box, and I don't believe we had a good shot from that. It was a great win again. And yeah, great win from the free kick, and it was between Mount or Alonso. I don't think Mount could have maybe got in from that range. It's not really favoured for a right footer to get the whip, get the dip all around the wall to hit the top bins. And yeah, I just like Aguaita was just kind of standing there. He was like, there's no point. Marcus Alonso has got these techers. I might as well just let it in. I saved the embarrassment of me flying into the post, and he just stood there. Alonso, absolutely great free kick. I love his celebration after as well. He knows that, people are talking about they want Alonso to be sold, but I think he is Chelsea through and through. That is how I feel about Alonso. Even when he scored against Burnley when Tuchel first came in after being on the bench for like nearly a year, you saw him absolutely run up, not the fans, but he was absolutely gassed. He was so happy to be wearing that Chelsea shirt. It's nice to see that having these players in the team who will do literally anything for the badge. I just love to see it. And great free kick, great celebration, awful goalkeeping, and just, great goal.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Look, I don't know how much I can blame the goalkeeper for that particular free kick. I think Alonso's hit on that free kick was supreme. The second goal, I'll ask you as well, Taron, and then I'll go to RJ for the third one. It was a movement somewhere similar over here where Aspie was obviously playing as a right wing back, but Mount was just regularly linking up with Aspie and making those darting runs towards the byline, and Aspie would find those passes to Mount as well, and then Mount squares the ball in, and from there was a bit of a chaos in the middle, and then luckily enough Pulisic. And the thing about Pulisic and Werner was they were quite fluid, where they would change positions every now and then. Sometimes Werner would be in the middle, sometimes Pulisic would be in the middle. Mount pretty much stayed more or less in that sort of area to penetrate those positions. But the other thing I loved about Mount, and I know we're going to go into player analysis later on, his early crosses throughout the game was just immense. But puts in a ball, and then Pulisic puts that, bundles that ball in, gets himself that goal. I mean, Taron, what do you feel about Pulisic, man? I know we've given him some criticism, some stick in the last game, but this particular match, he showed a lot of tenacity, and I was patient with him, and just rewards with that goal. So hopefully this is a start of something big for him this season.
Yeah, we'll get into Pulisic, and I'll get into him in a second, actually. But I'll start with Mason Mount. I'll say after the first goal, the Crystal Palace kind of rear guard was starting to crack a little bit, more kind of holes opening up in their defence. In the first 20 minutes, they were really compact. They were keeping out crosses. They were keeping out all of our kind of runs in the half spaces. And I say this is where their action kind of stopped in the defensive kind of third. But Mason Mount, I'd say he's kind of making the Kevin De Bruyne kind of run into the channel, making that kind of right side run and crossed it in. Unfortunately, we don't have Raheem Sterling, but we do have Christian Pulisic to get in there. And Guaita definitely could have done better with that. He put it into a very, very dangerous area right in front of his own goal. We could have had Werner tap it in, but Pulisic did get in there. Nearly, he blocked it, very, very close. But Pulisic managed to get into the goal. And the thing I like about Pulisic is he keeps going, even in the games where he's not playing well. He had a very, very poor performance on Wednesday, but in this game, he kept pushing over and over again. If he got tackled, he'd go on another run again. If he got his pass intercepted, he'd make another pass, 2 minutes later. So I really respect his work rate, his effort, and even his penalty against Villarreal, you can see he's really fired up to do well this season. He's taken the season, very, very seriously, as he should. But, that goal, Azpilicueta, again, making great, great passes. I thought his passes from that position were excellent today. He played a few to Werner, a few to Mason Mount, and maybe if Callum Hudson-Odoi was there, I don't think he would have been playing similar balls. So maybe that was discussed with Tuchel. And
have you noticed one thing about Aspie, how he did not try too many crosses this time around? He allowed for Mason to play those early crosses. He would lay the ball off to Mason, find Mason in those areas that we've shown around here. And then Mason would pump in the crosses. The only time Aspie would put in the crosses where he absolutely had no pressure on him and he could put it. Because I think in the last game when Aspie came on in the Super Cup, there were quite a few times where he was finding the first man when he was delivering the crosses and he wasn't being able to do that. So I found that very, very interesting that maybe it was deliberate that Thomas Tuchel, and I know Ryan's going to speak a lot about the tactic side of things, but maybe it was deliberate for Aspie to find those passes to Mount or Werner or else in midfield and allow them to then take over to put in the crosses.
Like I said, Azpilicueta, I definitely think it was discussed pre-match to play them balls. Crystal Palace definitely don't have the fastest defence. Marco has helped that, but still, I don't think their defence, Checo Kouyaté is not very quick. Danny Ward, is not Danny Ward. So Joel Ward is not very quick. Tyrick Mitchell is not the quickest player. So it was definitely discussed that, Timo Werner could stretch that defense, but we need someone to play them balls. We don't have Ziyech playing today on the right. And Azpilicueta actually has very good passing ability, in my opinion. Remember all them Costa Morata. Remember his switch balls. He's great at driving out from the back. And that was, constant, all the passes. Mason Mount was always hovering around that right and back forward role today. Always, like I said, Kevin De Bruyne Kevin De Bruyne always kind of drifted from the middle onto the right to play crosses. And if you think about it, if Aspie's crossing in from his position, we don't have the players to kind of head the ball in. Maybe Alonso, but that'd be quite rare. But if Mason Mount is in the kind of, more advanced position, he can play the low crosses to a better, in what I like to call the corridor of uncertainty, where, you can get a flick on, you can get an own goal, you can get a goalkeeper mistake, as we saw today. And people were saying that goal was lucky. It was, Guaita's mistake, fair enough. But if you put the ball into those areas time and time again, more or less, you will get the chances to put the ball into the back of the net. And that happened. And, Christian Pulisic, under his time under Lampard always kind of talked about developing him into a kind of Sadio Mane, Sterling kind of player who would kind of get into the box and be like a left to right forward. And Pulisic keeps getting into these positions over and over again now. So I have to thank Lampard for training that in Pulisic, and fair enough that he's taken it on board.
Yeah, man. And you're right, man. The other factor that I saw with our crosses was a lot of bodies were there. Literally Alonso, Pulisic and Timo. There were always three. Previously, we would see that crosses would come in and there would just be the one person. But this time around, in this particular match against the low block, we just had so many bodies in the box. And as you said, that corridor of uncertainty, it really created chaos. And this is exactly what you need to do to break low blocks. You got to create chaos inside the box, which was brilliant. Ajay, I'll go to you for our third goal, which was, honestly, I have to admit, I was close to tears. Because this particular player, and we're going to talk deeply about this player, and there's a debate about him and Kunde, live chat. Let me know what you think, whether we need Kunde or not right now, because I think Trevor Chalobah is now putting a big stance on here. I think the situation was somewhat like this, where he had a clear, I'm not exactly sure where the other players were, but Kovacic, I think, puts a pass through Chalobah in yards of space, shapes up the shot, and then just arrows in. It was hit so perfectly. Brilliant strike, reminiscent of what I suppose Christensen did in the Euros for Denmark. But this was sensational hit from Chalobah. What do you think about that goal, RJ, when that went in?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I thought it was a very low risk, sort of low chance kind of opportunity. And we've spoken previously about how we've had these, stats around high number of chances created, but it's the quality of chances created. And I'm not particularly fond of those 30-plus yard speculators, because although they're nice on the eye, the likelihood of them going in, particularly from defenders, isn't very high. But you just saw something in when Chalobah made his darting run forward into that space, which seemed to be just wide open for him. Yeah. And you could hear the Stamford Bridge faithful just saying, shoot. And the heavens opened up and he couldn't hit it any sweeter to be, because if he didn't hit it as perfectly as he did and the placement of it, it would have been saved. I think even Thing got a hand to it maybe, or just missed it. Either way.
I think he just missed it. I think
he might have just evaded him. So it had to be pinpoint perfect. So full credit to him for backing himself. But that's just a testament of his overall accuracy. This guy here, he's got a very, very strong potential in him. It's just up to him about staying grounded and not getting caught in the moment. But it was a very nicely worked goal. Because what I liked about it is that not only were we able to penetrate all those top wide areas that we've spoken a lot about already, it brought a different dimension to our attack. So for me, as long as our defenders can continue to focus on their shooting, then having that as an option there just really causes another conundrum for any opposition to say, okay, well, we can't sit too deep and plug those wide areas. We can't just hover around the box. So we're going to have to come forward. But if they're going to start coming forward and trying to close down that space, that will then open up space behind them that they've just vacated. So the point is just to keep the opposition guessing. So goals like that will just give our opposition managers a lot of headaches. So a very nicely taken goal. And it was just to me, even if he hadn't scored that, his overall performance, both defensively and just the way he was getting involved in the passing and just acting as that outlet, he's just showing an incredible level of maturity at such a tender age. So he's hoping it continues.
100%. You know what? We're going to get straight into the player analysis now. We're not going to go through all the players because I think we want to focus on the main objects of this particular match. Our first one is Chalobah. I want to just quickly, Brent Smith, you're right. That goal from Chalobah was Tamori-esque from Frank Lampard's first season. Absolute belter. Let's get into the first debate here. I'll just quickly to touch base on the other players. Mendy, I think he could have just Netflix and chilled that whole match. Literally could have just got his seat out, just watched the program, whatever movie he wanted to watch. I don't think he was called upon at all. I don't really even remember if there was a proper shot at him where he was called upon. There might have been one shot, maybe. I don't even remember. Live chat, let me know what you...
there was like one from like Jordan Ayew that he had to catch. Apart from that, nothing.
There was nothing. So literally, he could have just chilled out. Rudiger, strong performance. Yet another strong performance. Andres Christensen, once again, back to his brilliant best in the middle. Ball playing was superb. His build-up was superb. And he protected that middle section nicely. And at times, he drove the ball forward as well. Brilliant. Rudiger also sensational on that left side. And I've said it. And I think there was a really good challenge in the second half. I can't remember which particular Palace player it was. Maybe it was Zaha. I think it was Zaha. And he literally blocked that shot from Zaha. Zaha was through and he blocked that shot. That was a very, very important block from Rudiger. I remember I tweeted out, Rudy, you beast. But our first point of conversation, and I'll go to you, Ryan, is Trevoh Chalobah. We need to have this debate, and I want to see exactly what the boys think about it, and also the live chat. Ryan, I know we're heavily linked with Kunde, and a lot of it is because of his ball-playing ability. He's got amazing dribbling stats in La Liga, reminiscent of a midfielder. His passing accuracy stats are very good as well, quite capable of scoring himself as well. But I'm seeing Trevoh Chalobah really put a stance here. I think he's putting a marker down that defensively, which I think Kunde, look, I've not watched him too much, but from the little that I have, especially in the Champions League, he can be a bit of a suspect defensively, especially when they played against Dortmund. And I know anyone could be a suspect against Haaland. But looking at Chalobah, defensively, he's supreme. Going forward, especially this match, if given the license, I think he can do that as well. He's just shown his shooting technique. Whether it's a fluke or not, that's up for debate, but still clean technique. For me, Ryan, I don't know whether Kunde is a necessity. Like, I'd rather get myself another midfielder and really promote someone like Chalobah in this team. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, we need to think about this from... I have a lot of ideas for Chalobah. Can I bring up my tactical
Bring it
board?
up, bro. Let's bring it up. Let's have a Chalobah session.
Yeah, it's already there. I just think you need to
There you go.
Yeah, so...
Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to love this. Before Ryan, you start, 130 people live. Let's get the likes up to well over 100 because Ryan's about to give you guys a masterclass.
Yep. So, Chalobah is a midfielder, right? A defensive midfielder, naturally. Am I right or wrong?
Well, here's the thing. Apparently, he has been playing as a defensive midfielder, but Chelsea sees him as a centre-back. Even when he was getting touted to go out for a loan, Chelsea was looking for a club that was going to use him as a centre-back. So I'm a little bit confused now.
Well, I'm not very surprised that Tuchel would opt for defensive midfielder in the back three. He did it with Marquinhos. Marquinhos was that player who used to act like a midfielder, although he was a centre back. This time it's just the opposite way around. What Chalobah really reminds me of is Jordan Henderson. A a tuned down Jordan Henderson, because I think he's an incredible player, but he's showing signs that he could be a Jordan Henderson type player. Though Liverpool play with a back four, let's pretend this is Liverpool's back four here, right? Just bear with me. Though they play with a back four, Henderson would usually be the one to drop in here to make a back three, while Robertson will push up, and then Alexander-Arnold will push up and Robertson will push up. So they would kind of make like a kind of slanted back three where Henderson would have the freedom to make a midfield three or a back three if needed.
Right. Yeah.
This is so he can have more space and time to be a primary ball player where he can get balls in behind, or most likely he would find the simple balls in between the lines here, right? For Firmino and Salah and all those guys. So I think that Chalobah, we have seen that many times, even though he's here a lot, we'd see many times he would step up and make that midfield three. On the eye, it would look like still a back three, but we would see he would be taking these positions more.
Yeah.
And obviously today we would see Azpilicueta. He's not that guy who's going to be here all the time. He would do it 3 times a game, but not every time like Hudson-Odoi. So today he had that freedom to, get into these positions when Azpi do not overlap. And then Mount would be here. So we would see another dimension to our attack. And we have talked about this a lot, Miz, having a, I don't know if you call this an overlapping CB, but a CB that joins the attack. Let's just call it that. A wide CB that joins the attack. And we talked about this a lot, Miz, like a few months ago, having Reece James who does not be, here too much. We need that extra, person going forward, because as we could see, this could be like an extra number 8 if we play it right. And it could turn us to set up kind of like a 4-3-3. Because we would have this extra body in midfield driving forward, and if we release the brakes, we can still have that protection in the back, especially with Jorginho not joining the attack, right?
Yeah.
But that brings us to Kunde now. The thing is, with Kunde, he's been rated one of the best centre backs in La Liga last season, the best. And this guy, is he only 22 years old? Am I right?
I think so, yeah. He's young, yeah.
Yeah, he's young. Let's just say that. He's young, and he's already rated one of the best centre-backs in La Liga. Not one of the best up-and-coming centre-backs, one of the best already centre-backs in La Liga. And not only that, but he, a lot of Real Madrid fans wanted him to be the one to replace Ramos. And a lot of people talk about height, this and that. I don't really care about height. But they wanted him to replace Ramos. And I've watched him quite a lot. And I think that he is a fantastic player, and he would bring that dimension that we need to dribble into these zones here. And his final ball and dribbling and shooting is very, very good. Not only that, but in a back three, he would also give us that option to sometimes, turn into a back four where he can be, a lot of times we would see Chilwell getting up here, right? And we would see Rudiger taking a left back role. Kunde would allow us to drop into a kind of back four if we need, because he is a natural centre back. And Chalobah, I don't think he's been tested as a natural centre back like that yet. Yes, there's certain tackles he did, but has he really been tested? Against Kunde, you were talking about, he struggled against Haaland. Well, we haven't seen Chalobah anywhere next to a player like Haaland. Yet we're judging Kunde on one performance against Haaland. I think that I really want Chalobah to stay, but I would much be interested in seeing Chalobah be our backup CDM. And we do get Kunde still. Because if we do get Kunde still, Chalobah can be the substitute for Jorginho. And let's just get Jorginho out of the way here. And Chalobah, we already seen he can drop between the CBs as a midfielder, and he could roam here. That would allow our third CB, which is Kunde. Pretend Kunde is Azpilicueta here, and let's pretend Jorginho is Hudson-Odoi, right? Just for, or Adama Traore, whatever you want to say. But think about it like this. Having Chalobah be a Jorginho substitute, which we need, and he can develop. Him dropping into these regions, which we see him play in preseason and today and in the Super Cup, could allow
You'll just
Kunde
release Kunde.
to get into these positions. And not only that, since Kunde is already here and Kunde is a very good defender and he's very quick, it would allow Hudson-Odoi to get here. What I'll do it would allow Havertz or Ziyech to get here in between the lines, and then Lukaku could roam here, and then have Werner could roam here, or wherever, and Chilwell could roam here. It would free up our attack, and that is what we need. That's what we need in a register, somebody who can free up our attacking players, especially when you play three at the back. We need somebody to free up that third centre back to get in the attack, So, and I think that instead of playing for, I know a lot of people want Tchouaméni, but I think that he's more, instead of a register, a sitting midfielder, I think he would develop more into an 8, honestly. He's very good going forward too. He can play those balls in behind. He has the legs to do it. I really wouldn't want to see Tchouaméni being here. Where Chalobah is.
Yeah.
I want to see this guy here, like a Kovacic. And a lot of people, and Rice, we're not even going to talk about Rice because that'll be 18, 90 million, and we're not going to spend that now, right? So
do you think that's why we were a little bit linked towards Boubacar Kamara, because he could probably do similar sort of that drop in between the CBs?
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. I think that, but now we're seeing that we have Chalobah, a guy who loves this club, and listen, I'm not sure how much of an impact he could have, but I think that Tuchel saw something in Gilmore and he wanted to give him 6 months with the club, with Tuchel, to get used to what Tuchel wants and then go out on loan and apply what Tuchel wants. I think that Chalobah being in this team could give him 6, 7, 8 months. And if he needs that loan still, the Premier League club or what, at least he would know exactly what Tuchel wants when he comes back to the club. You know what I mean? I think having a guy like Chalobah who can play in midfield and as centre back would be very useful. And I'd still go in for Kunde. So that's what I have to say.
So what you're saying is you would actually go for Kunde and have Chalobah as not just someone who can back up in the CB areas, but also back up in the midfield, and then not worry about a midfielder. Is that what you're sort of saying?
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's interesting. Let's go to you, Taron, man. I mean, what's your thoughts on, let me just quickly take out this tactical board for the time being. Taron, you've heard what Ryan had to say, which is a compelling argument in the sense that Kunde probably will add a lot of attacking threat from the right side. You can still keep a Chalobah, use him as a backup right-sided player in the CBs or also in the midfield. I mean, where do you stand at the moment with the whole Chalobah situation and Kunde situation?
Definitely before Ryan kind of discussed all of that, I was definitely thinking, after watching the game, we don't need Jules Kunde anymore. Like, Chalobah is good enough to play that right centre-back role. We don't need any cover, but that's really opened my mind to a lot of different possibilities. If you think about Sheffield United in their first season in the Premier League, their centre-backs always overlapping, and I think they had Sander Berge, who kind of was covering that role that Ryan was talking about, the Trevor Chalobah role. He was kind of a sit in DM. He'd kind of make it a back three when, Jack O'Connell or John Egan went forward. And it really worked well. It shocked a lot of teams. They didn't know how to deal with it. Overloaded a lot of the hand sides and they could switch the play, have a nice shot, have a nice free kind of shot at goal. And yeah, it really worked. But the Sheffield United system worked after one season. It wasn't too good. In the second season, it didn't really work and teams kind of figured it out. So it's whether it's kind of a unique enough system that would work in the Premier League. Obviously, our team on paper is much better than Sheffield United. Jules Kunde is much better than John Egan. Hudson-Odoi is better than their right wing back, George Baldock or something, I think it was. So yeah, it could be interesting. And I've never actually seen Chalobah play as a kind of holding DM for Lorient, to be honest. I've never seen him play for Ipswich, but I do know that he wasn't as good as people would have hoped as a DM, and I can see why Thomas Tuchel maybe would have moved him to right centre back. If he would have seen him as that position, then he maybe would have tried that in pre-season, him playing in the pivot instead of a Drinkwater or Bakayoko. But Thomas Tuchel clearly sees something in this right centre back position. He sees him as a perfect kind of cover of the play, someone who can drive up with the ball, someone who can take shots like that. We've been missing long shots for quite a while at Chelsea. So I think Thomas Tuchel really sees potential in this kind of this kind of right centre-back position. But, he still watched Jules Kunde, so it's going to be interesting what happens now. I mean, I definitely think the Kunde rumours could potentially be a little bit weaker after this performance. So if Thomas Tuchel's watching this absolute masterclass, this guy from the academy who he knows the fans will really, really benefit a lot and be happy about. So it's going to be like the roll of the dice, really. What can happen? Is he going to still go for Kunde now to kind of fulfill that role, move Chalobah into DM if he can't sign like a Tchouaméni or something like that? But yeah, it's going to be really interesting now. That's definitely opened my mind up to a lot of possibilities. But my main kind of overriding thought is that, Thomas Tuchel has seen Chalobah play in pre-season a lot in this position. He probably sees him better as a right centre-back than a DM. So, yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking about Thomas Tuchel's kind of way of thinking.
Yeah, and I completely understand your standpoint as well. Ajay, I'll go to you now as well. I mean, you've heard what Ryan had to say, that you can still use Chalobah and Kunde, but then Taron is also saying that perhaps you can use Chalobah and then get yourself a DM. The both sides of the coin seems to be okay for me in terms of tactically and also logically. Where do you stand in this particular debate of Chalobah, Kunde? Do you go for a Kunde? Do you go for a DM? Yeah, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I've said it even before we solved the striker situation, is I thought we did need to bolster that area in terms of getting someone that's a recognised world-class talent, or let's scrap the world-class term for a moment, but just a recognised player that predominantly plays in the DM position, not someone that's versatile to transition in and out, because I think perhaps it's not naive, but I think it's not fully considerate of the specialist skill set that's involved in that position, that you can't just interchange them as easily as perhaps some other areas. But I think maybe from the board's perspective, and I'm looking at it from a club lens here, our current CBs are Christensen, Rudiger, Silva, and you could make an argument for Aspi and Reece James, and obviously Kurt Zouma, can't forget him. Mm-hmm. So the decisions are, what's the medium long-term future of these centre-backs? Firstly, Kurt Zouma clearly does not seem to be in Tuchel's favour, so he's likely to be on the out at some point, either as part of a Kunde deal or not. But then you've got the informed CBs in Christensen and Rudiger, who at this point in time, their contracts run out next year, June 2022. Yeah. So the club's got to look at it from an insurance perspective. Getting Kunde would then at least ensure the club has a recognised up-and-coming CB in case Rudiger decides to go chase a big money deal because he's at the peak of his powers. And if he doesn't get the big dollars now, his next contract he won't, because he'll be past his peak years. And Christensen's probably less risk because he's younger, so he'll have a couple of cycles to update his payment terms, etc. So this could be more of a decision of what's more important, not necessarily for the balance of the team, but in terms of protecting the club so we don't get a mass exodus of centre-backs potentially as well. Yeah. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Look, for me personally, I think the ideal scenario would be we get Kunde on the proviso we include Zouma as part of the deal, so we're substituting it. We're not paying the full amount and using some of the residual amount to help, bolster in that CM position. So Kurt Zouma plus 30 million is better than 60 million or 65 million, because then you can use the savings to then contribute to buying someone like a Tchouaméni. That's the ideal scenario for me. So look, both compelling arguments, but I can definitely see why, just because Chalobah is going good, it's only early days. So let's also put that into context as well. We haven't come up against the top end of town, and he might not get the starts because once Silva finds his feet and, all of the rest of our CBs are fit and firing, does that mean Chalobah gets many minutes? Probably not. He might struggle. So, my position. I think for him, I think it's probably beneficial for him he was to go out on loan, actually continue his development there, unless he's able to force a regular starting spot. But it all depends on the remaining part of this window, i.e. if Zouma goes, he should stay. But if Zouma stays, then I think he should go, unless, we want to keep that coverage. So, yeah, that's just sort of my scattered thinking on that.
Fairs, man. Taron, you had something to add as well.
Yeah, just a quick kind of thought I had when RJ was kind of talking about the kind of pivot situation right now. If we play Chalobah in the lone DM position, say the Jorginho cover, I think that is a very specialist position we have right now. We need players who are very, very comfortable when pressed, very, very aggressively. We've seen Jorginho so many times where he can turn players so easily recently. Kovacic is so comfortable on the ball. Kante as well has evolved to become a very, very good on the ball. Chalobah, he's been good at right centre-back, but I wouldn't say he's been aggressively pressed at a stage where literally he has 2-3 players around him. And in that middle position, Jorginho has been so crucial to our build-up play at all times, the way he can evade 2 or 3 kind of forwards and break through the lines. And if we have Chalobah there, I just don't think I have the same kind of faith on, breaking through the press. And it's such a dangerous position to lose the ball that I need someone there who's so good, so comfortable, who loves to have the ball at their feet, who loves to be that kind of clockwork through the middle. And I don't really think Chalobah is, as competent on the ball as Jorginho, and that could affect us in the build-up play. But, the thinking of him being great and allowing Kunde to be good is a nice kind of way of thinking of it. But in terms of the whole metronome of the team, I just don't think a player like Chalobah, especially in a title-chasing team, is as comfortable in the ball as they should be, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, look, all you guys have put up excellent points. I think one of the ones that really stood out for me, what RJ said, I think the whole Kunde thing, we probably shouldn't look at it as, if Chalobah stays, then Kunde doesn't come in. I think we should probably look at it, as RJ said, the long-term effect of players like Thiago Silva probably moving on, Azpilicueta, how many more seasons is he going to have? Then there's a whole contract situation, which hasn't been done yet with Rudiger and Christensen. So a lot of things up in the air, and maybe that's probably the reason where, and obviously Zuma not being favoured one bit by by Thomas Tuchel. I mean, obviously he's featured now in the preseason, and that's because of other players are not being fit. But once everyone is fit, I think Zuma's got to move on as well. So it does make sense where probably Kunde is brought in for other reasons, not just the fact that we need cover in the RCB position. Very, very interesting points. All right, let's now talk. Go on, Ryan.
I just want to say one thing about what Taron just said. I feel like, it's so hard to say what a player in a certain position is supposed to do when you take out of consideration the context of the players around that player. You know what I mean? So many times we see that Jorginho does it on his own. He's able to turn out of trouble on his own, and it's very impressive. But we can't expect every single CDM to be able to do that. I've watched many teams, and not all the CDMs do that. It's about the players around them that make space for that CDM to have the time and space to manipulate the game how it is needed. Maybe it's something to look at. Why are we putting Jorginho in that spot in the first place, to half turn people on like Zidane and to get forward? Why isn't Jorginho allowed the time and space? And we can't say because Premier League is like that. No, because other teams like Fernandinho and stuff in Rodri and stuff in Man City, their CDMs have the time. Yeah. And it's because of how the team is set up around these CDMs. And it's a thing to question, why would Jorginho have to be that guy to always be turning and this and that? I don't think it should be the case to always have our CDM under so much pressure with 3 people around him, because it will always put us at discomfort to lose the ball and be vulnerable on the transition. I think like what we saw with Tuchel in PSG was many times, if you just put back up my board so I don't confuse people. Let me get my board. Many times the CDM, which was Verratti, instead of being here turning people over like Kovacic does or Jorginho does, Verratti would be here instead. And Cruz would be here instead. How many times you see Cruz here turning people and, like Messi or whatever? You don't.
Yeah.
They create the conditions that Cruz and Verratti could get here. The left back would get up, and then a Marquinhos or Kimpembe would be here. And then they would have Neymar drop in here between the lines. All of a sudden, you have 3 people surrounding the CDM, where 3 bodies cannot get there to dispossess. Then you would have a CB here, a CB here, and then the guy back here, and it would set up like this. And here you would see the CDM is protected. So we have an idea that we would need our CDM to turn out of trouble. No, why are they in trouble in the first place? They're not supposed to be in trouble. Do you understand? And you rarely see players like Henderson in that trouble, Rodri or Fernandinho in that trouble, Verratti in that trouble, and even Jorginho under Sarri in Napoli, he was never in that trouble. Kroos was never in that trouble. So why do we expect our CDM to be in trouble? I don't agree with that. And I do agree that Chalobah, obviously, we haven't talked about this guy ever before the friendlies. He would need some time to develop, but we're not talking about being a starting CDM here. We're talking about a guy learning his trade and training day in, day out with the first team, the champions of Europe under Tuchel, and that's where he could improve, just like how Billy did for 6 months. Plus, I think that having a player like Chalobah, like a Mason Mount, who can play right wing, who can play in midfield, who can play anywhere, would be really helpful for us if we're playing 60 games a season to have. In addition to Kunde, because honestly, when we talk about Kunde, I'm not talking about a good prospect. I'm talking about one of the best defenders in the world in 2 or 3 years. And we cannot pass up an opportunity like that, to be honest, especially with no teams coming in for him as yet. So yeah, that's all I just have to say.
100%, Ryan. I've always appreciated how you said, and I think you've mentioned this previously as well, where a DM doesn't necessarily have to be, whenever we talk about a lone DM or, they're going to get overrun, they're going to get bodied and whatnot. It really just comes down to the formation and the system, as you've just really pointed it out here with the player that's got the ball on the board at the moment. If you surround that particular player with other players around them, then there's no way they can be isolated. There's always an option, and you've mentioned this previous as well. It all comes down to exactly how Thomas Tuchel wants to set up, and this is what we've been saying. There's a reason why Jorginho doesn't get bodied and doesn't get singled out, is because Thomas Tuchel protects him with all these other players in and around him. So I'm pretty sure he'll probably have the same sort of facilities ready for whoever the DM is next up. But yeah, it's a very, very compelling discussion, 100%. Let's move on to the next batch of players that we want to talk about in this player analysis. I'll go to you, Taron, first up. We've mentioned a little bit about this, but Kovacic and Jorginho looked outstanding, man. The way they control the game without the ball, pressing, counter-pressing, the lot. They literally suffocated the living daylights of Palace, man. What do you think about their performance, man?
Well, absolutely excellent. Jorginho, there was a lot of talk before the game. Is he going to have the match fitness to be his normal standard against Villarreal? I wouldn't say he was too good. He looked a bit safe and sluggish on the ball. I'd say not really sluggish, but a bit kind of secure on the ball. Kovacic was absolutely superb against Villarreal. And I wasn't really expecting too much. Like I said, with Jorginho playing so many games last season, playing the whole Euro 2020 campaign, only arriving a week ago, I wasn't expecting. But Jorginho was absolutely, sublime today. I thought he was amazing, breaking out of pressure so well. And I felt like the system today was really compact. All the time when Jorginho tackled someone, he had Christensen, who was kind of deep line to receive the ball. He had Rudiger, who was always there. Kovacic and Jorginho, we've always criticised them, but we can't deny they have a very, very good combination. Every time they step on that pitch together, they're always in quite close, kind of good sync together. They can play them good passes between the lines, kind of link up really well. And they kind of seem like they have a good understanding. Even in the Lampard days, the start of his first season, them two were so good as a pivot pair. And they always have been. Yeah, absolutely superb. Kovacic was really back to his old self, I feel, today. Why he got the player of the season in 2019, 2020. He was picking up the ball from Jorginho, using the pressure, absorbing and kind of doing his scoop turns, breaking out pressure and looking for a pass. Obviously, the end product is never quite there as you like with Mateo Kovacic, but everything else he does on the ball, you can't really expect him to have the goals and the assists as you would have expected as well. But, when he wins the ball there, you do expect a kind of Timo Werner to get into the box. You do expect Christian Pulisic to make use of them kind of pressing opportunities. But, when we have Lukaku there, I feel like Kovacic is going to benefit so much. Obviously, if he gets the ball and drives through the midfield past to Lukaku, he can create so many different kind of dimensions and chances. So that could be a nice little combination. But yeah, Jorginho, I'll talk about him a little bit more now. even his passing today, like the commentators were saying, if you don't focus on Jorginho during the game, you just watch the players, you don't realize them. But if you kind of focus on Jorginho, watch what he's doing during the game, you realize he's an absolute general, an absolute genius in the midfield. His awareness of picking up the balls in different pockets, his awareness of when to pass, where to pass, whether to play a long ball, whether to keep possession for a little bit, play it backwards. He really is a specialist player in the best way possible. You know, for Italy, in a compact system, he is obviously a world-class player under Thomas Tuchel. In a compact system, he is a world-class player. Like I said, when he has someone around him to play the ball too quickly, when he's kind of as a lone DM and it's quite a expansive system, we see him getting lost out of the game. Too much running, too much kind of physical duels. But in a compact system, he is literally unplayable. And why he was so good under Maurizio Sarri, why he won the Euros with Italy, why he won the Champions League with Thomas Tuchel. He really is a sublime player at the age of 29. And that pivot, if N'Golo Kante's fit next week, I'm probably going to put him in purely for the fact he's N'Golo Kante. But you can't forget Matteo Kovacic and Jorginho are such a dynamic, perfect duo. And obviously not tied to winning, in my opinion, but still, what performance today. And they really took the midfield of Crystal Palace, to the shops. It was a great performance.
100%. The other thing that I liked about Jorginho and Kovacic was there was a lot of forward passes. There wasn't like too many sideways passes, just allowing the opposition to really set up nicely and be compact. It was quick. Whatever passes they were doing, they were trying to find diagonal passes and find the wing backs as quickly as possible. And a lot of line breaking passes well through the middle. They were trying to find those players up front. And I think this might have been a clear instruction from Thomas Tuchel to penetrate the low block, because for a low block, it's too easy when it's just side to side. They can just literally shift side to side. But it gets very difficult when one touch and you go straight diagonally towards the wing backs, or you pass through the middle. It becomes really, really difficult, because then you start pulling the centre backs in different areas. I'll go to you, RJ, now. Let's talk about the wing backs a little bit. I thought Aspie, his connection with Mason Mount was fantastic as well. Obviously, he ran out of gas at the end, had to be substituted out and bring in Reece James, which is absolutely fine because it's early days. But he put on a fantastic shift, I have to say. But Alonso, he really did catch my eye. I mean, there's not many times where we sit here and say Alonso's had an absolute brilliant game, but I'm seeing a different type of Alonso this season, where I feel like Thomas Tuchel has realized his limitations and has asked him to play in a certain manner which not only suits him, but also suits the team. So we don't always ask Alonso in the recent games that I've seen, whether it be Spurs or whether it be, against Villarreal, or even this one against Palace. We've not asked Alonso to be absolutely just stay up forward, and then you also have to track back. Whenever Alonso now goes forward, we do manage to cover those areas nicely with Kova slotting in or Rudiger slotting in, basically trying to cover Alonso's pace. Do you know what I mean? Allowing him to at times tuck in, and Timo Werner goes wide. He's participating a lot more in the middle as well, where he's linking up with Kovacic, he's linking up with Jorginho, but at the same time, he's finding those range to drive into the box. So what do you think about Alonso's performance, man?
Yeah, we'll start off with Alonso. I thought he had a sublime game, and taking away the very nicely struck free kick, particularly that first half, I just felt he really executed the plan to a T about really forcing Palace back, because we knew they were going to be pragmatic from the get-go. But I think what I really enjoyed was the fact that he made sure that he was actively in the danger zones and continuously making himself available wide out so he could receive the pass. How often did you see that cross-field switch from Jorginho to him? Countless times. It was almost rhythmic, but not even just that. It wasn't just his static staying in and around that area. He often drifted inward. He would often come back. I actually liked his defensive contributions, which were improved. But I suppose And obviously, again, he offered that aerial threat and was able to win a couple of headers, which were unfortunate not to get on the end of Werner a couple of times. But I think for me, before I get super excited with what I'm seeing in terms of what Alonso's producing, we've also got to be mindful of the opposition here, because had that been a team that was a bit more proactive on the ball or dominated possession,
Man City, Liverpool,
because obviously, he's not someone of great pace or of defensive caliber. It's not to say he can't defend, but we quite clearly know, based on his preference, he really enjoys the attacking elements of his game, but has a competent sort of output defensively as well. So that's why he suits that wing-back role. But I think given this is just, again, another big tick to Tuchel in terms of getting the personnel right in this case, because, Alonso was so influential to really setting the tone for us and getting us on the front foot, particularly getting in those danger areas, as I mentioned, and linking really well with the likes of Werner as well as Mount. So for me, a really strong game overall, big tick. And for me, I don't know if he goes in starting the next game, but he certainly did himself no harm from being in contention for that starting spot. Now, pivoting over to Azpilicueta, I think that, to me, it's all about balance. So Alonso represents the more attacking-based wing-back, whereas Azpilicueta gives you that offsetting attribute. And again, the context is everything here, because Kunde wasn't available and the Jovicic pairing isn't renowned for its defensive solidity or its superior athleticism. Azpilicueta by trade is a more defensive, positionally aware type of defender. And not only that, so he's going to protect any space that might have been left in between Jovicic pairing, but that didn't come to fruition. But it was there in case we needed it to be. And in fact, there's a few times where he actually dropped back, particularly in the first half, and helped mop up any potential dangerous counters. But also, Azpilicueta is an absolute workhorse, and he's someone that was so important in that counter press and worked so well with Mason. So as we saw in that first half in particular, between them two, it was like watching the two Energizer bunnies going at it in that corner. Nobody could get near them. It was just really a joy to watch. So for me, the wing backs had such an important role to play, and they use their unique but sort of offsetting traits to really help each other. And so, full credit to both of them. Great performance.
Now, you've mentioned this before the match as well, in the stream that we did, that the fullbacks are going to be very, very important. Ryan's always mentioned that we've not really seen the best of this whole three at the back and the wing backs. It can get so much more dynamic. But it is a point to understand as well that we got to be mindful that, no disrespect to Palace, but it was Palace. Let's see what happens when you do play against a Man City or a Liverpool or even a Man United. How all of these fullbacks in the likes of Aspi and Alonso, how they shape up. It'll be very, very interesting to see.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 180 nearly live right now. Smash the like button. Let's get the likes up to well over 150 straight away. You guys have been here. You're enjoying it. We can clearly see. We're going to get even more deeper into some more of these player analysis, and then obviously a little bit of Ryan's sort of some other aspects of the tactical side of the thing. So smash the like button, get those likes up to well over 150. If you're here for the first time, subscribe as well. We're here now chasing the 8,000 mark in subscription, and also check out the panelists and their socials in the description right away. Ryan, let's talk about some of the forward players that played in this particular match. For me, Mason Mount was very, very good. Someone who's played, this was his proper second match of the season. He played his first match against Villarreal. He's starting to look so quickly back into shape. I mean, there is no stopping Mason Mount, man. I mean, I feel like he's going to have another stellar season. Touch wood that he doesn't get injured or anything like that. Availability is a strong suit of his. But the way he was linking up, and I've mentioned this, and I don't know what you're going to say tactically, I think I saw something distinctly different where he was consistently putting in early crosses. He was regularly putting in wherever he had the opportunity. He did not think twice. Boom, cross it in. create chaos in the box. And he was consistently winning fouls as well in dangerous areas. So that's another tick mark. I mean, what do you make out of his performance, Ryan?
No, I think that, especially for second appearance for the season, it's been very, very good. I would say it's surprising, but it's not surprising because Mason always gives 110%. I did notice what you just said with the crosses, early crosses. You know, anytime you have a player like Werner or three forwards who are not target men or do not have an aerial presence, you need to go in early with the crosses to make them have a chance at scoring anything. Actually, a lot of what I wanted to say in my analysis had to do with the forward players, so I could do that now if you want. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I just want your team. I can't set up the opposition team because that would take too long right now, and we're live. But it has two aspects of a low block, right? And I just want your team to follow my mouse, guys, right? And normally in a very low block, right, we would see one line of defense here and one line of defense here, right? This would give the freedom for Pulisic.
By the way, Ryan, is there any way you can put the cones? I can see there's a picture of a cone. Can you put cones behind any of the players?
I'll try. Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, I'll just... Okay, so this cone will represent the first line of defense, and this cone will represent the second line of defense, right?
Yeah.
So it's very tight, right? What we'd see here is that our forward players have no problem dropping deep here to play on the ball. You know, when they drop deep here, they can face towards goal with no problem, and then they could link up with the wing back, create those triangles, and get in behind to send crosses in, right?
Yeah.
That's no problem for our forward players. You know, Pulisic is good on the ball with his body facing toward goal. When he has time to approach defenders with his body toward goal, he's very good at that. Same with Mason Mount. My problem was, and we saw this situation a lot in the second half, because in the second half, Crystal Palace set up in an even lower block than usual, because the defense was so tight. So it allowed, that's why we played better in the second half, I believe, because these players had more impact, because when they dropped deep, they could play with their body towards goal. This was different in the first half. I wasn't very happy in the first half, where the first line of defense was around here and the second line was around here. Then our forward players would be between the lines, if that makes sense. So it'd be between the two lines of defense, right?
Yep.
And the problem is, for me, is that I would put, let's just put Pulisic as for example, but I have the same problem with Mount also. But let's just focus on the left-hand side. The problem with me is that as a attacking midfielder, we can call them inside forwards or what, but no, in this situation, they are attacking midfielders. They have to be, right? Because our pivot isn't going to be here to take up that role, right? They are here to protect and be ball players. So our inside forwards, what we want to call them, needs to be the attacking midfielders. And when I say attacking midfielders, I think about David Silva's, Iniesta's. And I know it's unfair to compare Pulisic to those caliber of players, but I'm talking about with what they have to do when they're in this position. Upon receiving vertical passes, right? One complaint I have about both Mason and Pulisic is that upon receiving the ball here, they would just run back out, pass it back to Rudiger, and then we'd get to Alonso. And I think that as attacking midfielders, they need to be a bit more brave, to take that responsibility on their shoulders. Upon receiving the ball here, they're supposed to turn. And not only turn, because it's not their sole responsibility to be like Messi and turn, but we need players around them so we can get these third-man passes and third-man runs in behind. Because that's the main thing. Vertical passes mean nothing if the player who's receiving it is dribbling out, like Pedro. How Pedro used to, remember that one meme with Pedro dribbling back to here? So dribbling out and passing back, that makes no sense. And I think that's one thing that Pulisic among other things like his finishing and first touch and stuff like that, needs to improve on a lot. In addition to Mount, we call Mount the half-turn prince. I think you call him that, right?
RJ calls him that.
Okay, right. So RJ, I mean, Mount is very good at that, and Pulisic are very good at that. It's just taking the chance to do it. It's not like these players don't have the quality to do it. But not only taking the chance to do it, but knowing that they have support when they take that chance. Because the last thing you want is a player taking a chance to do it and they're completely surrounded and they have nobody next to them.
And they lose the ball.
They lose it, and now we are exposed.
It's a counter-attack.
Yeah. So what we want to do, it needs to be something systematic. In like what I think how we played today was really how you, RJ, you watch a lot of Serie A or only Inter?
No, I watch a fair few games across the league.
Today reminded me of how Inzaghi's Lazio plays. Because even though we recycle the ball way more, which is for a reason I'll mention after, but Inzaghi's Lazio, they play very direct from their center backs straight to the attackers, no problem. But one thing, it's not by mistake what happens when the ball reaches the final third here. They have a system where players like Immobile and their left wing back and all that, and Savage and all these players are so close together that it allows for these third man passes and third man runs in behind as quickly as possible. It's a systematic thing. It doesn't happen by mistake. It's drilled. It happens naturally because it's forced into the system. So I can't blame Pulisic and Mount for not doing that, because it's more of a, what are these four players doing instead of what is Pulisic alone doing? Yeah. I would like to see that improve. If we can't get Kovacic in here as much as we want him to, which I think he'd be very good, I think that we need to have a systematic way to play between the lines, because we don't right now. If you realize, most of what we got in behind was when the balls went in here or here for Werner in that first half.
Yeah, and in the second half as well, Chalobah with that long ball, if you remember how he found, I think it was Timo Werner from deep. So in those areas that you're saying that the inside forwards dropping deep into midfield areas will then need to become attacking midfielders. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, obviously you would need the wing backs to overlap and this and that too. But what we do very well, and in all Tuchel's teams and PSG's Tuchel teams, they played a lot of sideways football. But they play that sideways football. What happens is the forwards would overload central areas, right? To create space for a long ball in behind. Yeah. Or they would overload wide areas to facilitate that switch of play, right?
Yeah.
One thing is that we do that very well. If you realize that we always recycle the ball here, and we always seem to get Werner in behind or Alonso in behind. So that's very good. We do that very well. But what I'm saying is that for better defenders than Crystal Palace, that won't be enough. Because what PSG also had was Neymar here, who was Neymar and Verratti placing those balls to Neymar. And then you had other midfielders here supporting. And that's the difference between us and PSG. Tuchel's PSG is that we don't have that presence between the lines. If you can sort out these two players, we don't have a threat between the lines. And that's why Ziyech was so important for us, I think, in preseason, because he owned between the lines. And we saw it that players would get close to Ziyech. So he could also have 1-2s here with players close to him between the lines, or he could switch the play to Hudson-Odoi to get in behind. And that's something we really need to think about. And with Lukaku, I know people would say, Lukaku could drop deep, right? And be our target man. But the last thing you want, let's just pretend Lukaku is Werner, right? The last thing you want is Lukaku being as Zlatan and have to be here between the lines. Yes, you want Lukaku to roam, but you want Lukaku to be the shark in the final third, to shoot and score us 25 goals. Because when Zlatan came down as a false nine, right? He had Cavani at the left winger as a striker. But we don't have that inside forward striker. We do have Werner, but let's be honest. This guy, we can't count on him to do what Cavani did in PSG, right?
Yeah.
But that's my really was angry at, not angry, but I was concerned about in the first half. How are we gonna own between the lines? And I know this is long, but I had a idea, because we saw that the pivot today was side by side, right? But against Crystal Palace, who had no really threat on the breakaway, hardly ever, why didn't we do what we saw in preseason where we could take that horizontal pivot and make it vertical? Vertical, where now we could have Kovacic in between the lines and Pulisic between the lines. Now we have two players in between the lines, but I know why we don't do that, because, it's not like we have a Hudson Lowe to get in behind here and Mason to drop in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, because since we had Aspi here, we would need our right winger to stay kind of forward when the ball is on this side, because Aspi is not going to get in behind. But that's why it's so important to have an overlapping wing back also. You know what I mean? So we could get players in between the lines here when it's needed. And as we can see, we could get that 3-1, 3-3 again, what we talked about in our last review. So that's all I have to say.
No, it's very, very interesting, man, honestly. Especially the fact that, Pulisic, Mason Mount, as well as they've done supremely well in this particular. I think Mason Mount definitely has done very, very well. But it's a very good point that you bring, Ryan, that at times they could take the ball on themselves. But I think it's got to do with the limitations as well. I think certain times they're not as comfortable as a Hakim Ziyech to turn and look up and look for those key passes. I definitely know Pulisic is just not like that. Do you know what I mean? Pulisic is simply not that type of a player. But maybe as the season goes on, maybe it's something that they'll be drilled into. And the other limitation is, players like Azpilicueta. We do need those proper right wing back players. So we'll see exactly what happens, but it's a very good observation indeed, Ryan. Taron, let's go to you, my man. We've obviously talked about Mason. We've talked a little bit about Pulisic. I honestly liked Pulisic's tenacity in this particular game. He was hustling a lot. He was pressing, counter-pressing. His work rate was good. It was rewarded with the goal. Look, there were times where his end product could get a lot better. There were times where he was sort of tripping over the ball as well. He was dribbling and he'd lose the ball. But he got the goal, and hopefully this is the start of something that he could eventually build onto. Timo Werner, let's talk a little bit about Timo Werner, right? I personally think he was unlucky this particular game, Taron. I thought he was okay-ish. There was an opportunity in the first half where Alonso put the ball through to him, and he literally, if it was just an inch on the right side, it would have been goal. There were a few times where he was released up front and he'd cross it in. There was no one literally there. I know that Ryan has made this observation previously as well. At times where you think Timo should be cutting in and looking for that zip shot, but he seems to go wide, and he makes it a lot more difficult for him to convert that opportunity. What do you make of his? Am I being too nice to him, or is there a lot of development that needs to still happen? Is he going to be in danger with Lukaku just around the corner? What's your thoughts?
I thought he had a good game today, and I'll criticise Werner, I have to, but today, if he would have scored a goal, obviously I think he would have had a great game. But in terms of the way he was stretching defence, if people, for example, I mentioned earlier, if you watch Jorginho, you watch the amount of good things he does on that pitch. If you don't kind of pay attention to it, but if you actually watch Timo Werner the whole game, keep your eyes fixed on him and kind of see what he's doing. The amount he dragged out Mark Guehi today, the amount he dragged out Kouyaté to open up the spaces for Azpilicueta, Mason Mount. And I know we always talk about, it's true. It is very, very true as well. And but if you kind of watch how he does in this game, I know for a Chelsea player, you want them to be scoring, assisting, not just, opening spaces up, but in terms of what he does to the team,
not just
I think
the space creator.
So crucial. Yeah, that is his new position, isn't it? The space creator. Whoever said that, fair play. But I'm trying to find some criticism, but today, apart from his end product, again, like when he needs to cut inside, there was one chance where he went outside and he kept kind of letting the ball go out for play, and it kept going out for goal kick. But if he would have cut inside, we've seen it at Red Bull Leipzig, we've seen it at times at Chelsea. If he does cut onto that right foot, he is very, very deadly, and he can curl one top corner, bottom corner. And I still do see a slight confidence issue with Timo Werner. I'm not sure what it is. Is it the fact that he still feels pressure? Tuchel mentioned it in his press conference and said hopefully Lukaku can kind of take the pressure off of Werner and Havertz, but I don't kind of see that as an excuse, having pressure on you. It's Chelsea Football Club. When you put your pen to paper on a 180,000 a week contract, you have to accept this. Millions of fans watching you each week. If you miss big chances and big games, it can cost the club a lot. So I don't see pressure as a big thing. But if some players suffer for it, then fair play. Havertz, I don't think recently has been suffering with pressure. I feel like he's really started to settle in. And today, even when he came on, he looked rapid. He looked really good. But I feel like Havertz is starting to get ahead of Timo Werner and kind of the pecking order at Chelsea, especially the players like Mason Mount. It is going to be difficult for him to find a place in his team. And I know, people say when we played against Arsenal last season, there was a big drop when Timo Werner wasn't on the pitch. But if you have Lukaku kind of running into the channels, opening up the space, and then making the late runs into the box, it could be the complete package. So, I mean, it's an interesting way to look at it. But I think right now what he's doing on the pitch is good, but it's not quite enough. Lukaku's coming in. I'm going to want Hakim Ziyech there. I'm going to want Mason Mount there. I'm going to want Kai Havertz there. Unless we switch to formation, I don't see a place for him right now in the team. And unless he starts scoring quickly, starts assisting more and more, I don't see a reason why we should be dropping Mason Mount and the lot for Timo Werner, unfortunately. But overall today, his game was good. Like, he's opening up the channels. He's doing what he usually does. But again, a lack of confidence is not what you want to see in a Chelsea number 9. That's why we're paying the money for Lukaku,
No, you're right, man. I mean, honestly, I'm saying that he was unlucky is because every time I'm big critical about Timo in the timeline these days in social media, I get so much abuse. I cop it a lot, and that's probably why I thought, let's back the player. This is what we did last season as well. Chelsea player, let's back him. But you're right. He's there to provide goals. So if you're not going to be doing that very soon, your position is going to be jeopardized. All right, let's now talk about Thomas Tuchel. RJ, I thought brilliant, man. I mean, I was getting worried about this particular fixture, but it seemed like we just had so much energy. Unbelievable. His lineup was excellent. Tactically, Ryan's gone through a lot of stuff as well. Maybe there are a few things that he'll improve, and I'm pretty sure as the season goes on, he will improve. But tactically, with the players he had, I thought he did well. Substitutions were nice as well, giving a few players some breathers, other players some opportunity to gain some fitness. Moving into the Arsenal game, Thomas Tuchel will be licking his lips that he's going to get his gunmen back into the team as well. Lukaku should be featuring, hopefully, in that match. He should be training from Monday. What do you think, man? It's been a very good week so far for Thomas Tuchel with the Super Cup and now a victory against Palace.
Yeah, I think, and again, credit to his transparency with what he's thinking, or at least how he communicates it. But I thought because of how grueling it was on the body following the Super Cup, and obviously some of the injuries that forced his hand, I think the way in which he picked his squad based on who was available and factoring in the fatigue element and the opposition, you have to say, and obviously captain hindsight, we've got the result, but he was spot on. Like we said, the players, he could have picked the same system that he's comfortable with, but it's all, and I think Ryan mentioned as well earlier, which is probably something that doesn't get appreciated enough. It's the system's one thing, the style's another thing, but it's the people within it. So, Tuchel, if he didn't pick Alonso, would we have the same attacking impetus for this particular game, knowing Chilwell, hasn't been getting much preseason action? And the same thing on the right-hand side, if we picked Cho, would he have disrupted the balance? All of these things need to be critically analysed by Tuchel when he comes up with that starting 11 plus the substitutions he brings on. So today, 3-0 result, and it's not just even a result, because we've had 3-0 games before where up until a certain point in the game, and I think West Ham was a good example, where it was a lot closer than the scoreline suggested.
West Ham did not deserve to lose 3-0.
No, but this game here, we deserve to win by at least 3-0. And I think if anything, we probably could have won by more if we're just going to be a bit harsh on ourselves. But tactically speaking, he did get it pretty spot on, it must be said. And And I think that with Arsenal coming up next, they're going to be licking their wounds against Brentford, who, humbled them. So it's going to be interesting to see, what tweaks he makes, because I have a feeling that he's not going to stick with the same 11. I know this is not the preview show, is a bit of a foreshadowing, but I think different opponents require different sort of personnel at times.
Yeah.
But for this particular match, this is the review for the Palace game, he absolutely nailed it. He did, and I like the subs because I like seeing Reece James getting some more minutes back in his tank. Yeah. I like the fact that he did give Havertz a rest, and as you know, I thought he was going to go the other way around and start Havertz and then take him off. But it was good for him to get continuity back into his body and get some more minutes. The Emerson one, that was quite interesting, but maybe that's because he didn't want to overexert Alonso, knowing that in his own mind, he's not settled. He's not settled in the sense of, do I now revert back to Chile or do I continue Alonso, but I want to keep my options open. So if I don't need to overwork Alonso because we had a commanding lead, then we should give him a rest so I can have that flexibility. So yeah, a very astute tactical display, I've got to say, from the gaffer. So credit to him.
100%, man. Really, really happy with Thomas Tuchel. Yes, Chilwell does need minutes. Hopefully he can. I think there's going to be an in-house game that's going to be coming up either tomorrow or day after. So hopefully Chilwell gets some minutes there. And before we talk, I do want to talk about one more player. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, who is your man of the match? Please comment. I want to see who you guys are going with. We've got nearly 200 people live. First of all, smash the like button. Let's get the likes up to well over 150. And if you're here for the first time, subscribe. As I've said, we are, targeting 8,000 subscribers. And check out my panelists and their socials. But yeah, let me know who your man of the match is. I'll go with the panel. First of all, Ryan, who's your selection out of this 4 from the Chelsea official Twitter page?
I would say Alonso.
Okay. Taron, your choice?
I'm actually going to go with the youth. I'm going to say Chalobah.
RJ?
Yeah, I'm with Taron. I have to say, and I had Squawker's stats on that, and they're pretty phenomenal. I'm not sure if you guys have seen them, but just quickly, like 93% pass accuracy, 81 passes, 18 passes into the final third, 4 duels won, 3 clearances, 2 aerial duels, 1 interception, 1 goal, 0 dribbled pass. To me, he was the all-round package today. So, yeah, phenomenal considering his inexperience. So, yeah, credit to him.
I was actually going to go Alonso as well. So it seems like it's a split between the panel, two-way split here between Alonso and Trevor Chalobah. I want to see what the live chat has to say, and then that will decide. It looks like a lot of Alonso to start off with. Brent Smith, Alonso, Station Kid, Alonso, Francis, Alonso, Arcebian, Chalobah. Then we've got Izzy, Chalobah, Kabina Chalobah. Man, it is literally split. But it looks like there's a lot of Chalobah that's coming in. Doda Chalobah, Emmanuel Chalobah.
We'll call it Chalonzo.
I think it's safe to say that Chalobah has got that 73%, a whooping 73%. There you go. There's your man of the match. Before we wrap things up, just a couple of quick things I want to quickly talk about. One, just quickly from each of you guys, see what, just literally a one-liner if you want to say. Start off with Taron. Callum Hudson-Odoi not getting an opportunity in the right wing back. Obviously, Azpilicueta getting that chance. I've always said this: if you're not going to make it in the right wing back, I don't know how you're going to make it up front because it's so difficult. So, what do you think, man?
Would you say one line now, or can I just kind of?
Just elaborate, bro.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't great against Villarreal, was he? So, yeah, he had a big chance to impress in that game. And look at Chalobah, how well he did in that game. He earned his starting place in this game. Hudson-Odoi definitely didn't earn it, but I definitely don't think it's over for him. Obviously, it's one game in. I definitely don't think people should be getting carried away with the season that he's not going to play a lot. He definitely should get an opportunity, I feel, left forward. I feel like it could be a real deadly kind of underrated dark horse to link up with Lukaku really well. So that could be nice. And I definitely think, his
does he start for you
ability
against Arsenal,
No,
Taron?
unfortunately not. I mean, maybe there is a point I could quickly make. His crosses, if you saw Ben White yesterday against Ivan Toney, if Hudson-Odoi is crossing into Lukaku the whole game, it could be a really good tactic. So Tuchel, I feel like I started Aspilicueta for a reason today, for the purpose of playing the balls to Mason Mount and kind of the build-up play. So maybe Hudson-Odoi could be thrown in to link up with Lukaku and really, get at Ben White.
Fair enough. RJ, I mean, how are you taking this whole Cho situation? Obviously not starting here. I don't know how he starts against Arsenal. Maybe he does. I don't know. And then after Arsenal, I'm pretty sure we've got City or Liverpool or something like that. Can't really remember.
Liverpool.
It's another
Liverpool away, sorry.
Yeah, Liverpool away. So what's your thoughts around Chalobah Hudson-Odoi?
I think, to me, he's just like any other squad player in the sense of they've really got to just convince Tuchel to get his way back in, because at the moment, I wouldn't say he is a starter. And with Aspilicueta, interestingly, he's someone that he's been selected the most by Tuchel, I believe. So I think he's got on either the RCB spot or the right wing back spot locked down, because he has a lot of trust in our captain, and rightfully so, to be fair. It will be interesting, though, the battle between Reece and Cho. For me, my personal feelings on it is that Cho continues to be used in this position, but I just feel like it's not natural for him. Like perhaps it's a work in progress, and I respect that. It takes time, and there has been some good performances at times in that position. So credit to him for taking it on. But I just feel like when he's there, and I'm using the Villarreal as the most freshest memory, we're just not seeing the same level of confidence in the one-on-one dribbling and that quick feet and his shooting ability, which we know he's got in his arsenal, for a better use of a term. But I just think if he is to genuinely get a proper run of games, I see it being in that attacking left area. Like I can't see how he forces his way over the likes of Reece or Aspi or even Christensen in, like I said, because you've got RCB. So I just think, how's he going to force himself in that right wing back spot? And I know I said before, it is opposition specific. So maybe that's where Tuchel plans to use him based on the opponent. That's where we try our luck with him. But for now, I can't see him starting unless there's some injury or fatigue concern, because Aspi looked pretty good today. And when Reece came on, I thought he actually had some good contributions and whipped in a couple of very good balls across the face of goal. So to me, that suggests that Tuchel's looking to slowly start to integrate Reece James back and get more minutes from him. But it'll be very interesting. That's a very good one.
Yeah, no, 100%. I would get Ryan's thoughts, but I realize that we're now absolutely running overtime now. Maybe we can talk deep about this, Ryan, some other time as well, tactically. Think about what's going on as well with that whole right-sided stuff. I know we've touched on it anyway previously, but ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much brings us till the end of the show. 3-0 is the final time result. We've got a really, really good victory. Up next is Arsenal. We've got a lot of good content that's lined up. Many Arsenal fans within our friend circle, obviously RJ with Scott. We've got our Down Under Football Crew show on Monday, so there's going to be a prelude to that particular match on that. And then I'm pretty sure the previews, some of the boys will be back again, and hopefully let's see if we can get some Arsenal fans as well to be part of that particular show as well, which will be very, very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic day wherever you are, night, morning. It's very, very late for us. RJ and me, it's 3:48 a.m. Well, it's literally morning now. So yeah, thank you so much for the time you've given us. Smash the like button before you go. That's honestly would be very, very appreciated. Still over 170 people out there. Please get those likes up to well over 150. If you're here for the first time as well, subscribe. Check out the panel and their socials in the description right now. Go and follow them everywhere. Until next time. See ya.